Wanting to have power over men is often looked down upon. Wanting to have power over others is also often looked down upon. Why is it that being power hungry, wanting power over others, being power lusting is always perceived so negatively? And yet, power is a healthy and normal need for all human beings. In this video, I'm going to show you how to have power over men in a way that makes them respect you, makes them attracted to you, and which is actually psychologically healthy to the human psyche. Welcome to the channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. Let's dive into why it's so important to have power over men and how to do it in a healthy way. Power is a natural and normal human need. Imagine feeling powerlessness all the time, every day. Imagine having no power over your bank account. Imagine having no power over your health. Imagine having no power over how your partner treats you. Many of us have been in situations like this, situations of powerlessness, and it's one of the worst places you can possibly put a human brain, a human psyche. We enter depression. It is not where we are designed to be or how we are designed to live. So if we know power is a natural and normal and in fact necessary need to living a joyful, fulfilled life, why does it get such a bad rap? Well, the human brain meets needs via a three-part system. First, we try to meet our needs in a healthy way. Second, we try to meet our needs in an unhealthy way. And if we can't do either of those first two, we enter a depression. So let's take the need for attention. We first will try to get attention met in a healthy way. Okay, maybe I put myself out there, I do a running race and I get cheers, or I ask my partner for a hug. That's a form of attention. But unfortunately, what happens if we can't get our need met in a healthy way, we have to resort to an unhealthy way. We might become rebellious. We might become negatively attention-seeking, as the stereotype goes. We might become a sex worker, or we might look for validation where it's not appropriate. We find ways to get the need met in an unhealthy way. And finally, if we can't do either of those two things, we then give up on the need entirely and enter a depression. Basically, we put that need in the corner and say, oh, well, I guess I'm giving up on that. And a part of ourself gets abandoned. Several needs fall into this category of something we call shadow needs. That's basically a word for the human needs that tend to get put in the corner because a lot of shame is poured onto them, and often because getting them is done in an unhealthy way and negatively affects other people. So for example, if someone says you're a control freak, they are alluding, or at least attempting to allude, to the fact that you are going for your need for control in an unhealthy way. Unfortunately, what we hear is that the need for control is bad. That is not the case. But the way a lot of people meet their need for control is bad. It negatively affects others. And so we have a social stigma around being a control freak to protect others from the people that meet their need for control in an unhealthy way. Hopefully that makes sense. So the same thing is true with the need for power. It can be rather hard to get this need met in a healthy way. I'm going to talk about how to do that in a moment. So we've all experienced people who try to get their need for power met in an unhealthy way. And it's not fun to be around those people. Being powerless to those people is one of the worst experiences possible. So there is a social stigma around being power hungry. It's an attempt to disarm these people who meet their need for power in a healthy way. But the need for power is not the problem. It is getting it met in an unhealthy way that is the problem. So what is a healthy need for power, and how do we achieve it? How do you achieve it with men? Well, having power over things is extremely important. You want power over your bank account. You want power over who enters your house. You want power over how your partner treats you. These are all very important concepts of having power over your reality as opposed to being a helpless victim who is powerless. So how do you make sure you have that power? Well, in the modern age, a lot of women have been taught to do power in the way a man does power. They're taught to create power in the same way you might create power in a business, usually by force or by some kind of aggression. The other way you can achieve power is by passive aggressiveness or cutting remarks. You can have power over someone if you know exactly what their security is and you know how to stab at it. You can have power over someone by coercing them against their will, by blackmailing. These are, of course, unhealthy ways to get your need for power met, but you can start to see why power has such a bad reputation as a need. But let's talk about the healthy way women are supposed to have power. And to go explore this, we want to look at biology. Men, for the longest time, let's call it 100,000 years or more, have been trying to impress women. We've been building stuff, we've been creating stuff, we've been expanding society with the hope that a woman chooses us to be her mate and breed with us. Men are uniquely attuned to the effect we have on women. We build businesses, we build cities, we build empires, we go to war with each other, we die because we're hoping it gives us a sense of positive power. It gives us a sense of influence and power that the women in our life will come to us and want to be with us. It's one of the biggest drivers. In fact, I'd say it's the biggest driver of male biology, is what effect will I have on a woman? And yet modern women often forget this. They try to be men in the way they enact power on a guy, using force, using a man's way to build. And you forget that the fact a man has an effect on you, and him witnessing that effect and either continuing his behavior, if it's a positive effect, or changing his behavior, if it's a negative effect, has been happening since the dawn of time. You don't need to boss a man around. You don't need to coerce him. You don't need to be passive aggressive. Those things can work for a short period of time, but ultimately they diminish the man's needs, and you'll be looked down upon as a power-hungry woman, or dare I say, bitch. We don't want that reputation for you, and there's a way better way to have way more power over men without needing any of that. It's through open-heartedness. When you're in dating, and this starts at the very start of dating, I was just talking about this with a client this morning. When you're in dating and you're starting to train a man how to treat you using your feelings, you're already giving him the feedback of how to continue his behavior and how to change it. Remember, if a man's responding and if he's so acutely sensitive to your feelings, then those feelings have a lot of power over him. Now, the scary part of this is in a modern business world, revealing your feelings is very dangerous. It doesn't help. You don't want your feelings in business. And so what we tend to do is we think, well, I'm powerful in business, I'm powerful at work by protecting myself and by basically having an adversarial point of view and by making sure that I get the best side of the deal. I keep my cards close to my chest. That is the worst way to obtain power in a personal relationship. Not only will a man sense that your heart is closed to him, he will lose interest and eventually feel like a failure and disconnect from you because of it. Worse, you're not actually letting a man see the real you, so he doesn't have anything to love. The best way to have power over a man is to show feelings with positive affect when he behaves the way you want, and to give him feelings-based feedback. And I don't mean I feel like you should do better or I feel like this isn't good. It's I feel sad. I feel hurt. I feel confused. I feel concerned. I feel delighted. I feel happy. I feel intrigued. I feel worried. These statements have more power over a man than any kind of forcefulness, aggression, or passive aggression you can possibly ever come up with. This is how women are designed to have enormous power over men. And the cool part is, men actually enjoy this form of power from a woman. We've been responding to it since the dawn of time, since the dawn of millennia. And when you use this in dating and you start to train a man early how to treat you, instead of just being casual and going with the flow, you're starting to exude that power in a way he enjoys and which grows him. And what are the things that men are looking for in a wife? How do we decide wife material versus fun material versus friend zone? Number one, it's someone we have a great emotional experience with, i.e. we affect her, we are useful to her. And number two, she grows us as a man. We are challenged by her. That's why this style of giving feedback to men early in dating not only has amazing influence on the man and makes him want to keep investing in you, but it builds out those relationship habits that last a lifetime. You have power over your life, over your relationship, over the guy, and it's done in a way that he actually appreciates because you're open to him and you are showing him your truest self. Again, it's scary to do, and you certainly would never do this in a business context. But this is where a lot of women lose out in having power over men. I see it again and again in clients. You go to a man, whether it's online dating, offline dating, and you think you don't have any power. And you have more power than you ever know, but you're not using it, or you're thinking like a man in the way you should use it. You've got to think like a woman when you're using your power here. You've got to think in feelings. That's a bit of an ironic statement, but you've got to use those feelings again and again. Positive, negative, feedback loops. It's like a dog. You reward the behavior you want and you pull back and give feelings-based feedback to the behavior you don't want. So how do you take advantage of this natural, amazing power you have as a woman, especially if you're not so good at it right now or not sure how to wield it? Number one, you've got to get really, really good at recognizing your feelings. Remember, the feelings are the biologically coded feedback loop for men. So if you've lost them, which often you may have had to do earlier in life or in business or for some reason, you're going to have to get them back. Reform that connection with specifically what you're feeling at any given moment. because it's the present moment feeling that's going to be the best feedback loop for a man. So for you to have power over a man, you've got to be in touch with that feedback loop yourself. Second, lots of boundaries. I was on a call with a client this morning and she said, Mark, I haven't been on a date with this guy yet, but we've had a phone call. He said he wasn't much of a text guy, it was, but now we haven't seen each other for a week. He's been texting me every day. He's been texting me too much, and now we've got a date tomorrow. I don't know what to do. This was a missed conflict opportunity. This was a missed opportunity for this client to wield power using her feelings and direct the guy to please her the way she wanted. Even before you've been on a date, these opportunities start. So what I have clients do is we get over 80 boundaries in the early dating phase. Yes, that's 80, over 80 boundaries. So we have all these conflict opportunities there. Plenty of opportunities to wield positive power. Again, the more you're doing this, the more a man is learning how to treat you and speak your love language. That's good for you, and it's also good for him because it makes him respect you and see you as wife material. It also helps you appreciate him more, because if you've got 80 boundaries, the odds are he's probably already doing 70 things well, so you have all these wonderful opportunities to appreciate him. So you got your feelings in tow and you've got a wide range of boundaries to use them on. The final thing is to complete the loop via the IKEA effect. The IKEA effect is a psychological principle that says the more we do something and become invested in the thing, the more we value the thing. In other words, a guy does something well, he meets a boundary, you appreciate him, he gets a positive reward. Maybe the guy does something wrong, so you give him a negative feeling, he then does the right thing and he gets a positive feeling, so again he gets the reward. The more loops he goes through, especially loops where he has to correct, those loops create added value in his mind because effort creates value. Remember, he's getting the positive experience of being with you and all these appreciations, and then when he does go off track, that's when he gets the feedback and has to put effort into getting back on track. That effort creates value. That value creates commitment and makes him say, hey, I want to wife this. This is a great woman here. So practically speaking, get really, really good with your feelings, have a shit ton of boundaries early in dating, and then have positive feedback loops again and again and again. And it's going to give you an increasing amount of power as you go through the dating cycle. This gives you more power over your life, over your relationships, over the respect he has for you, over the attraction he has for you, over the way he views you, than anything else you can ever do. And so if you take nothing else away from this video, please take away two things. Number one, the need for power is healthy and normal. However, the way a lot of people meet that need is unhealthy and not good for others. But with the healthy need comes the way you've been born to execute it. And it's not the way a man does. The way you will have enormous power over a man is the same way women have been doing it for millennia. By inspiring the men with an open heart to please them, to please you, to satisfy you, to do what you want him to do, but to do it in a way where he's able to respond to you through his own autonomy rather than because you're coming from a masculine energy where you're telling him directly what to do. If you can do this, even online, even before you've been on a date, you'll immediately start to filter in the guys that want to meet your needs, that are doing it through their own autonomy, that are excited to please you, that are excited to create good emotions in you, that will respond to feedback when they do something negative. You'll immediately start filtering in those guys that want to work on the relationship with you, and filtering out the guys that either aren't into you enough to meet your needs or who have no interest in building a relationship where two people actually come together to work on the relationship. It's the best filter you'll ever find. It's the most power you'll ever have. And best of all, it's the most natural thing as a woman you can ever do. Use this power for good, but use it well. Because when a man has a great woman in his life, that's not just good for you, that's good for him. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want one-on-one coaching, don't forget I've got my no man, no fee guarantee. In 30 minutes a day, you can take advantage of that. Book a call if you want that. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.